morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Oyster Radio. So today, I am back with a warning I have frankly given you before, but judging from everything I'm seeing around the internet, it's a warning that needs to be given again, and the warning is a very simple warning, ladies and gentlemen. Stop buying Fusion Strike singles. Not forever, but certainly for the next week or two. Just stop buying Fusion Strike singles. It is a terrible, terrible idea. You see, what's gone on was that this past weekend we had the first pre-releases for Fusion Strike. Now, because of a worldwide delay of 1 week, this past weekend was the first week of pre-releases. Should have been the second, but instead it was the first. Incidentally, I did open a pre-release kit on this channel. Do go check it out. It was, well, no spoilers. Go check it out. And then this coming weekend is the second week of pre-releases, which shouldn't be, because this week coming is also the actual release of the set. But you know what? That's fine. The thing is, that puts us in a very, very awkward situation, because we are now in that horrible position where Fusion Strike has kind of soft released. People have been to pre-releases, some people have been to many pre-releases, and essentially a whole bunch of people have a whole bunch of cards. However, the set is not yet out. And that is where we start thinking, oh my goodness, I'm gonna start missing out. What happens if I don't get the card I want? And your old pal Wassie's here to tell you, it's gonna be okay. You're not gonna miss out. Fusion Strike, like all the Pokemon sets, there's gonna be much of it printed. There is going to be much of it opened, and these prices for singles are going to drop precipitously between now and a couple of weeks' time. Now, interestingly enough, and this has been pointed out to me by people, and they are absolutely correct, there does come a point where the set has stopped being printed, and the cards get rarer and rarer, and the prices do start climbing. So, okay, fine, buy your singles before then. But the general rule is, on pre-release is the worst time to buy singles until it becomes a proper retro set. You need to go from about a week or so after release up until it stops being printed and starts getting scarce. So, for instance, if you take a set like Call of Legends, for instance, and I adore Call of Legends. Not everybody did. It wasn't a particularly popular set, but I adore it. It's an amazing set. You could go and look at the shiny Pokemon there, and it's just a random run of free, but right now, we've got a Rayquaza for $300, a Raikou for $150, and a lightly played Dialga for $136. When it comes to a set like Call of Legends, yeah, you've missed the boat. Interestingly enough, that set was so derided by people at the time, and it was given out as prizes at a whole bunch of tournaments, and these shiny Pokemon were, at one point, pretty cheap and easy to pick up. There's only like 1 or 2 per box, but they're actually quite cheap and easy to pick up, at least relatively. It's gotten to the point now where they are very much not. So, okay, fine. Get there before that happens. But that takes a while to happen. And the thing is, and some of you are probably thinking this right now, I did this video about Evolving Skies. I did a video basically asking you guys to stop buying Evolving Skies singles. And that means that we can give a lovely little comparison. So let's take Rayquaza there. There were 2 cards that were really sought after in Evolving Skies, and that was Alternate Art Rayquaza and Alternate Art Umbreon. And if we looked at solds around about the middle of August, that was when the pre-release was happening, I've got one screen here that shows one sold for 400, one sold for 410, and one had a best offer accepted on 455, so it's a bit less than that. And then here's a second picture with best offers accepted on $600 and $530. So this was an above $400 card. If you were trying to buy the Alternate Art Rayquaza V Max on pre-release, before the set actually came out, you would be paying somewhere in the region of about $400. That is very, very expensive. Well, now we're about 3 months down the line. We're not middle of August anymore. We are middle of November. We've got another set coming up. So what are we looking at in terms of sales? And the answer is sub $200. So I've got a line of 3 here that all sold yesterday, $152.50, $189 and a penny for some reason, and $192.50. It is interesting to note these alternate arts are actually keeping their value better than a lot of the Shining Legends, things like Shining Legends I showed you earlier. However, if you've got mint versions, like proper minty versions of those Shining Legends shinies, you can make a whole bunch of money, especially if they are graded. And for some reason, I don't completely understand or remember, I have a complete set of those Call of Legends shiny Pokemon, and I am delighted. I actually completed the entire Heart Gold Soul Silver block, including Legends and Primes and these shinies. Apparently, back then, Wassy had my back. Thank you, pass Wassy. My point is, if you bought this card, the Rayquaza, around about pre-release, you would have been paying about $400 or more. Now, if you pay $200, you've probably overpaid slightly. This card has absolutely plummeted in value, exactly as we said it would. And I know a lot of people, it's a very trendy thing nowadays to shout, simple supply and demand. And most of the time when people shout that, they're wrong. It's actually not. They're just ignoring all the other factors. And it's not quite as easy as simple supply and demand here, but there is a large element of it, because essentially when the pre-release happens, there are exciting cards like Rayquaza, and everybody wants Rayquaza. It's a super exciting card. So everybody goes out and tries to get it. But there aren't that many of them out there because we've only had the pre-release, and, even with the pre-releases out there, not everyone that pulls it is going to want to sell it. So the number of Rayquaza out there available to be sold is significantly lower, and everyone still wants them, so supply and demand does kick in and push the price up. That is definitely a thing. But if you bought it back then, that was, it was a bad time to buy, ladies and gentlemen, a very bad time to buy. The other example I gave you was Umbreon. Now, the two I showed you before in the middle of August were best offers accepted on $400 and $445. So again, they didn't sell for quite that much, but you're still talking somewhere in the region of a $400 card. Not a cheap card. So what happens if we start looking at solds here? Well, the last two sold were $185 and a best offer accepted on $200. And it's funny that the person did put their selling extra cheap. No, you're not, mate. You're not selling extra cheap. You actually sold it for about the same as the one above. Unfortunately, you're selling at the wrong time. And look, if you're a seller, then pre-release is the best time to sell cards. I've told you before on this channel, there have been times I've pulled really good cards from a set, and I will sell them nice and early, and I'll generally sell them for less than other people are charging, so I want them sold quick. But if people are willing to pay them, fine. And like I've said many times, but I do think it bears repeating, if you're one of those people that did pay $400 for one of these two cards, but there was a reason you wanted to and you're happy with your purchase, that's great. And I mean that very sincerely. I am not here to judge anyone, because I've had messages from people in the past basically going, Wassy, I get what you're saying, but actually I bought it at a higher price and I'm very happy with it, so maybe don't tell me I was wrong. And I'm not telling you guys you're wrong. I am telling you I wouldn't buy them now, and I'm telling you the price is almost guaranteed to plummet. But if you want to buy them early and you're happy buying them early, you go for it, ladies and gentlemen. And I do try and make a point of saying this pretty regularly on the channel nowadays. You guys do whatever makes you happy, because that is the most important thing. So now that I've shown you that Evolving Skies, buying Rayquaza and Umbreon on release was a terrible idea, let's see what's happening with Fusion Strike, bearing in mind that as it stands at the moment, we are in that period between pre-release and the release of the set. Now, I have good news for you, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of. It's not quite so bad. So, Mew V Max, right? Mew V Max is definitely the money card from this set. And we got 3 sold here from the last couple of days that are showing them being sold for $300, but it was the best offer accepted. $372, although that was a UK listing, not a US, which is why it's a bit different to the others, and $350 with a best offer accepted. So we're talking somewhere in the region of about a $300 card-ish, which is still not perfect, let's be clear, but it's significantly better. It's not a $400 card. Now, it is worth bearing in mind there are far fewer, and I've done a video about this, it's on the channel, go check it out. There are far fewer secret rare cards in Fusion Strike than there were in Evolving Skies, which means that actually each time you buy it is easier essentially to pull the cards that you want. There aren't that many alternate art VMAXs in the set at all, which means that when you pull an alternate art VMAX, it is a lot easier to actually pull the one that you want, and that is going to push the value down. What I'm saying is, it is not a perfect comparison. There are only actually 4 alternate art VMAXs in the entire set. So when you pull an alternate art VMAX, it is going to be easier to actually pull the one you want to pull. We cool? Excellent. Because that is very important. It means that it's likely to be a little bit cheaper. And if we look at something like Espeon VMAX, for instance, you know, we got $150, $250, and a best offer accepted on $250. And that seems more reasonable. That seems more in line with what cards like Umbreon and Rayquaza have been in Evolving Skies. That's about the price that those cards have gone down to. So, Wossy, I hear you shout. Does that mean that actually it's not a terrible time to buy Espeon VMAX, given that it's so much cheaper than Umbreon was in the same time period? No! It's still a terrible time to buy these singles. Because, like I've said, firstly, with fewer alternate art VMAXs, each of them is easier to pull. And secondly, the set isn't out yet. And okay, fine, something like Espeon looks a lot more reasonable compared to the Evolving Skies money cards, but let's be perfectly clear, it is still going to drop in value pretty dramatically when we actually get to the full set release. Sure, you can pick it up for $200 now, but if you can pick it up for $200 now, that means you can probably pick it up for a fair bit less than $200 when it actually comes to the set being released. If you want to buy these cards, that is absolutely fine, ladies and gentlemen. You buy them when you want for whatever price makes you happy. But if you are looking to get the best deal and spend the least amount of money on these cards, I've said it before and I'll probably end up saying it again, buying singles between the pre-release and the release of the set is generally a terrible idea because the prices are not going to go up. Once a set properly releases and there are far more copies of the cards out there, that don't make no sense. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, a lovely little warning from your friend Wossy. It is quite important. I keep seeing people jumping on these cards, and if you want to, that's fine. But I see people jumping on them not because they really want to pay the extra money, but because they think they're going to miss out. And I'm telling you right now, you ain't, ladies and gentlemen. You ain't. So there we go. That's what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. But now it's over to you guys. Tell me which cards from Fusion Strike you're excited about. Tell me if you've seen anybody overpay, and let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.